Hello everyone and welcome. Today we'll be doing a fire tactics run with Ragna. So we're using Legacy Ring of Fire Burn, Storm Ring of Fire, and Storm of Skills. This is going to make it where our Legacy Ring of Fire deals a pretty good amount of burn damage, and then also every time we use a skill, it's going to make an additional Ring of Fire that will also apply this burn damage. The reason I like having this extra skill version on it is you'll see here. I use this, and then when this type of Ring of Fire from the Blade Ring explodes, it's a very big amount of AoE damage, as opposed to if I just use my Legacy version, it's a really small range on it. So especially in the early game, it's nice to have this extra range on the Ring of Fires. And Ragna works pretty well with having something on the skill slot as well. In particular, when you pair him with Lambda as one of your legacy characters. I've talked about it in the past, but the way that Lambda's legacy passive works is that when enemies fall from a certain height, you gain MP back. But the way that the game actually calculates height seems to be just based on, like, their momentum or their speed when they hit the ground, something like that. So there's a couple moves in the game that can kind of glitch this out. For example, when I do Ragna's attack chain in the air, this second hit here, where he slams into the ground, will always give NP back from Lambda's passive. So basically what that means is that in normal stages, Ragna just has infinite MP to work with most of the time. And we can spam out the skill for the Blade Rings. On top of that, if you don't want to take Lambda as a legacy passive for some reason, there's a lot of skills that Ragna can get that only cost 50 MP instead of 100. So he's pretty good at spamming skills either way. For upgrades, there's two paths you can go down. You can upgrade the Burn. So if you get these upgrades here from Burn, they will apply to the Ring of Fire, both the ones that you make with your Legacy activation and the ones that you make with your Blade Ring. So that's pretty strong. The other path you can go down is Fire Spirits and build into Fire Spirit Detonation, which is a really good DPS tool. Since we have the purple here, I'm going to go ahead and take the Fire Spirits. So I would recommend taking Fire Attack Chance in your Mind Crystals, if you want to do a similar build to this. You could also run it without the Blade Rings, if you don't feel like setting those up. You could just run with the Legacy Fire, the Legacy Ring of Fire, and then the burning on it. You could even, like, start with the Fire Spirits and the Fire Spirit Detonation, and then build into the ring burning. It's up to you which direction you want to take it. So also, when it comes to upgrades, the Ring of Fire upgrades are going to be decent as well. The Ring of Fires that come off of the Blade Ring here are not going to scale off of becoming larger or shape-shifting, but they will scale off of the damage increases here. So if you can pick up the shape-shifting one, that's the highest amount of damage increase compared to the other options. Having the shape-shifting is also pretty nice for the Legacy activation, a Ring of Fires itself. it makes them a lot bigger, it makes them deal damage, and it makes them deal more damage, and it makes them deal damage multiple times, which helps with enemy stagger, compared to just the regular Ring of Fire. It's always been kind of weird to me, the way that they do... They have shape-shifting, and they have just flat increase size. In a couple places. And functionally, they generally do close to the same thing. At least with this one, though, the shape-shifting does at least make it do multiple hits. With lightning impulses, it just doesn't really seem to do pretty much anything different than what size increasing would. It just makes it a different shape, but it's also bigger at the same time, so it's weird. When it comes to bossing, the Ring of Fire stuff and the burn stuff isn't really going to be doing a whole lot. At least not in high entropy, where the bosses start to have a lot of HP. So you're just going to have to rely on Ragna's damage for that, or rely on something like Fire Spirit Detonation if you're taking that early on. Luckily, Ragna's a character that has enough base damage to where he doesn't really struggle too much. That boss fight was a bit awkward, because I only went in there with one potential, which isn't really too common for especially high entropy runs. I did at least have Blood Cane, which is the passive upgrade here that makes it where attacks do HP but deal more damage. That's one of the main sources of DPS increasing on Ragna. You always want to look for that one. And then after that I just picked up triple dashes. There's really no specific potential route that you need to try and go for with this type of build. Like I mentioned before, if you can pick up something that counts as a skill, so it has an MP cost, but it costs less than 100 MP, then that'll help you with keep your blade rings up more often, but it's not, like, a vital part of making the build work. So I will go down the dash route if I'm able to, or the burn route, I mean, to try and improve those, rather than the Fire Spirits one. Though I think the Fire Spirits is better, it's just something I've already shown off in the past with my Jin builds, so I'd rather show off some new stuff instead, if possible. Since it's here, I'll go ahead and keep upgrading Universal Enhancement. I said that Blood Cane is important, but this one's also important. All three of these upgrades are really useful to have, no matter what Ragna run you're doing. Hopefully we'll see a shop here soon, so I can start stocking up on more potentials and talking about more of those. I'm going to go a different Ragna build than I've gone in the past. I usually go a combo-based Ragna build with a lot of his different moves that have different inputs. But I found a different one recently that's worth showing off. It's going to be more of a hold attack build. It's not quite as fun to play in my opinion, but it's really effective. And it's a lot easier to play if you're just looking for an easy Ragna build. Now I should be using my legacy skills a lot more when I'm playing this build. It's just not something I'm used to doing, because legacy skills generally aren't really that useful compared to what characters can do. So in terms of burn upgrades, I think this one's my favorite. Burning enemies will spread fire to nearby enemies. If you just really want to min-max the damage, you could go durable burn, because it makes it last longer and deal more damage, but I think catching fire is pretty fun to play around too. Generally, whichever of the two I see first, I will pick up. I don't really want to pick up any Fire Spirit tactic except for Quick Split. Since most of the damage from Fire Spirits will be coming from this detonation effect, it's better to just have more Fire Spirits out as often as possible. And I don't need any Blade Storm upgrades, so I can just sell this back. Because of my entropy settings, I can sell tactics back, and that costed less than I sold it back for, so it's just a free option to look at a tactic and see if I want it. If I don't want it, then I make an extra 10 back. Not a big deal, but it's nice to have the choice of taking it or not taking it for basically free. Another thing to talk about as I've been going through the shop, HP upgrades are extremely effective for Ragna. So the way that Ragna's healing and draining mechanic work is that his drain effect is based on your current HP. So the more HP you're at, the more it's going to drain. Whereas the healing effect is based on your maximum HP. So your healing effect is always going to heal the same amount, no matter if you're at full HP or if you're at low HP. Aside from the potential that makes you heal more at low and heal less at high. But otherwise, your healing is going to be the same regardless of if you're at low HP or high HP. The other thing that means is that the higher your HP is, the more you're going to heal. So there's always going to be some kind of threshold where whenever you're using skills often, you'll always drain your HP to a certain point before your healing starts to match or outscale the damage dealt. The higher total HP you have, the higher that threshold is going to be. So you're going to have more HP, even when you're draining the max amount of HP you can drain. So this is kind of what I would go into normally. I would go into a lot of these air combos, and that's something that'd be good. Like I said, it's a good choice for spending less MP. Getting the Carnage Scissors upgrade where you can hacker slash independently will make them cost less MP as long as you're only using one of them. Both good options. What I'd really like to be seeing is... I will go ahead and pick up SP skills since it's here. SP skills always a good option. So Black Market's kind of, I have mixed feelings on it because of what I just talked about on Ragna. You can get real big damage increases and stuff from it, but it takes a lot of your max HP away. which affects your healing and draining mechanic. And it is really not wanting to give me the stuff for the build that I need. What I want to be looking for is the dead spike upgrades or heavy strike potentials. So this one just lets them move forward. It makes them deal damage multiple times, and it's useful for hitting multiple enemies in regular rooms where they're kind of spread out. It's not really what we're going for, but it's part of what we need to get there. Probably should have saved my SP skill and used it during that phase so I could deal damage through his attack, but it's not a big deal. Just a small optimization thing. So we'll go ahead and pick up the final universal enhancement since it's here. And we'll just continue to get fire upgrades throughout the entire run. The only time I would maybe get something different is if I see like a summon radiance at the end, just to fill up my summon tactic slot. I will never go for fire mines. Those things are just completely terrible. Fire mines were, like, never good to begin with, and then once they changed them to crouch input, they just became even worse. Okay, so here's a big threshold to look for in the build, is when you get double rings of fire. The double ring of fire will apply to the ones on your red effect from the blade rings, and they deal 1200 damage, so having an extra 1200 damage there is going to make a pretty big difference. Mainly when it comes to clearing out normal rooms, but it's at least something for bosses. One of the nice things about this build is that with the fire tactics chance, you just kind of keep going down fire, and pretty much any route the game gives you is going to be decent. You're not really relying on one specific route once you have some of the legacy tactics set up. And here is what we want. When we get both heavy strike upgrades, we will get the hidden effects here, where heavy strike, if you do down attack, the dead spike won't move forward anymore, but it'll do a lot more damage. And then when you combine that with some of the, should be the universal enhancements, when you're low HP, the down attack will do even more damage. And then we also want to look for this upgrade on attacks, where your attacks deal more damage in a larger range. That will also upgrade the dead spikes, which is the hold attacks. They'll get both bigger and attack in more range. I really do not like this stage layout. Especially for characters where I want to be doing stuff like dash attacking often, like Ragna. It's really annoying to try and play around that small stage. Especially when they decide to put flying enemies and exploding enemies at the same time. So now you can see our dead spikes are way bigger. There's also the two versions of them. I'll show that off in just a minute. That is really not wanting to give me my quick split for fire spirits either. But that is okay, because, like I said before, any of the burning upgrades we get to here will affect our burns from our Legacy Ring of Fire and our Blade Ring Ring of Fires. Okay, so if you do the regular hold attack, you'll get the regular dead spikes that go out and fly forward, and then if you do down attack, you'll get these dead spikes. They attack extremely quickly, so you can spam them, and they do a ton of damage. You can see there they were doing 3,000 damage each. It's actually ridiculous how much damage they deal. They deal similar damage to your actual skill itself, while not costing hardly any HP to use, or costing MP. There we go, we got the shape-shifting upgrade. Or no, that's not the shape-shifting, it's the quick split I want. Again, the quick splitting is because the main damage that you're going to be getting out of the fire spirits is from the red effect, the fire spirit detonation, rather than the fire spirits themselves. I could take pulling storm, but the pull range on the things just on the blade storm just doesn't really seem that high. It's nowhere near something like a black hole. It's just right near it. So now you can see if I just start spamming those down attacks, it does a lot of damage. I'll probably go ahead and just use my SP skill here. It's nice to get in damage with invulnerability during that attack. These dead spikes are also really nice for clearing out this attack in particular. So like I said before, having this upgrade where you can hack or slash independently makes it where you only use 50 MP per activation of your skill while you're on the ground. It's a good idea to look for. Another one that I like using is the Demon's Wave on the ground. Demon Wave and the heavy strikes just kind of synergize together. They both have really long, wide range. I'm gonna go ahead and use the SP skill there. Mostly just for the invulnerability frames. I'll be able to get it up plenty quickly again before the next time I need it. The other really good aspect of having your universal enhancements, Blood Cane in particular, is that you'll stack up your SP skill very quickly. Since you're draining your HP constantly, you'll also be keeping up Ragna's passive. Ragna's passive used to be pretty bad, because it only takes effect when... Before, it would only take effect when you took damage from an enemy, but now they buffed it, so anytime you drain your own HP... Anytime you drain your own HP, it will also activate the buff from his passive, which just gives you free damage. So that's another reason why to take Blood Cane. If you're worried about the HP drain on Ragna from taking something like Blood Cane, what I would really recommend is just, first of all, make sure your Mind Crystal levels are maxed out for extra starting HP. And then on top of that, you can get the Mind Crystal that increases your HP even more. I am always using that Mind Crystal on Ragna because it makes a big difference in his healing and draining mechanics. I'm getting a lot of free gold tactics this run. Unfortunately, I don't have anything useful to put them on right now. So we're completely done with all the fire upgrades. If I see something like Radiance, I might take it, but even at this point, it might be better just to sell them for a couple extra potentials. Selling tactics isn't quite something you want to do as much until you start playing on higher entropies. It's somewhere around like 70, where you get the 70 to 75, where you get extra money from selling your tactics. There's two tiers of the buffs. One of them is just the... I believe it's at like 35, 30, somewhere around there. But once you get that second tier is where you really start to make a lot of money off of selling tactics. Lightning orbs. That honestly might not be too bad of an idea. It's a purple rarity, and it's just going to be free damage for me. Eventually, in the run, you'll probably hit a point somewhere where you don't really have to rely on the blade rings or the burn to start clearing things out. When you have enough potentials, your character just kind of becomes so strong that tactics don't matter anymore. I guess I'll go for... Sure, we'll go for the more damage on them. I don't think it really matters too much which one of them you take there. I don't really like the orbiting ones too much. I'd rather them stay in the same place. No damage reward is a nice buff, but we're going into the boss stage next, so there's no point in taking it now. Then I guess I'll just go ahead and finish off the lightning orbs. There's really no reason not to. I don't think I'm gonna have the damage to skip her phase here. Nah. So I guess I should mention that this build isn't gonna do the same damage amount as something like a Frost build or a Rend build, or even combining the two. Those builds are probably always going to be stronger than any other build in the game, unless we get some, like, rebalancing on tactics. That's just kind of how they are. Aside from Lightwave, Lightwave is the only other thing that can keep up with them in certain scenarios. Speaking of, Lightwave can be used with this potential route that I'm running this time, with the down attack heavy attacks. Hitting a Lightwave off of that will do quite a lot of damage, because Lightwave scales off of the damage of the hit that deals it. Okay, I am going to go ahead and skip forward to the Susano fight, and I will see you guys there. Alright, we are back. I did end up having to burn a revive. Omega Sector enemies, when they have the barrier debuff on them, is quite annoying, because they all have super armor during that barrier. That was a really dumb time for me to use my SP skill. It's a little bit of a problem, but it's fine. We heal enough to make up for it. You can see just how effective my healing is with me having 4,000 HP. I really should not die in this boss battle, as long as I don't drain my HP at a really stupid time or something like that. I did pick up a couple of potentials before entering this fight. It was, where I can use my basic skill for less cost. And then I think the other one were some of the air attack combos. Yep, these ones. Anyways, for the rest of the Susano fight, I'm gonna go ahead and just focus on the fight, so I won't be talking anymore. Alright, and there we go. I realized I didn't really end up using the down attacks a whole lot to show them off, but I think I showed them off a good enough amount for you to know what they do. That's kind of something that just happens a lot when I try to play on commentary. I end up just kind of autopiloting into basic combos more so than anything else. Anyways, that'll be it for this one. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.